Well, if you're like me and have been waiting over a year for In the Heights, the famous Lin-Manuel Miranda Broadway musical, to be turned into a feature film, well, the wait is over. It's in theaters. It's on HBO Max. Was it worth the wait? Let's talk about In the Heights. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Warner Brothers film In the Heights. It is available now on HBO Max for streaming, or I encourage you to see it in a theater. It is one that deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible with the greatest sound. So let's talk about this film. Originally, it was slated for release in June of 2020, but obviously the pandemic shut that all down, and Warner Brothers did not decide to stream most of their movies. That's why we've gotten so many Warner Brothers movies so far in 2021. They've sort of held on to a lot of those, Godzilla vs. Kong, the new Conjuring movie, Mortal Kombat, In the Heights among them. And so we finally get the chance to see this in all its big screen glory. Or if you don't want to venture out, you can watch it on HBO Max. But again, I definitely recommend this one on the biggest screen you can find. So let's talk about this. I don't know, honestly, too much about the show, or I didn't, I should say. I knew what it was. I had heard the name many, many times. I don't follow the Tony Awards, but I usually know at least what some of the big titles are in any given year. And this was a huge hit for Lin-Manuel Miranda. It was before Hamilton. It dates back to, I think, 99 or 2000 is when he started working on it as sort of a one-man show. But he has done the music and the lyrics for this show, and he has created the whole thing. And he plays a small part in this film, but it's one of his Hamilton stars, Anthony Ramos, that takes center stage here for In the Heights. We see actually a few faces we might recognize from Hamilton, but in any event, this is an all Latino cast except for a few minor exceptions, including Corey Hawkins, who was in Straight Outta Compton. He plays Benny, a taxi cab dispatcher in this film. But most of the people come from the Latinx community, and that includes some faces you may recognize. Jimmy Smits from, of course, L.A. Law back in the day. Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, doing a very, very different turn here. We're so used to seeing her, sort of reined in and a lower registered voice, and here she is just laughing and singing and dancing with everybody, and it was kind of interesting to see. But this is directed by John M. Chu from Crazy Rich Asians, which was another one, that one not from a Broadway show, but taken from a book that he really brought to life on the big screen with glorious visuals and some fun acting as well. That one, of course, focusing more on the Asian community. This one on the Latinos. But this takes place in Washington Heights, just outside of the 181st Street subway, where you have an entire culture and neighborhood, several neighborhoods, really, of this vibrant Latinx community, everybody sort of helping each other. You've got Abuela, who is not anyone's actual grandmother. She had no kids of her own, but she sort of is the matriarch of the entire block. And you've got the star, Anthony Ramos. He plays Usnavi, who has some dreams to not just get out of his place in Washington Heights, but he dreams of going back to where it all started for him. He wants to get back to the Dominican Republic and sort of run things there. He runs a bodega here in the States, but wants to sort of run his own kind of thing there. And through some things with his realtor or lawyer or accountant or whoever, he is able to do that. But as he falls more in love with Vanessa, who is played here, what is the actress' name? She was wonderful. Melissa Barrera, she plays Vanessa. And he's also remembering when the town was so vibrant. It's starting to change. We see a lot of changes going on here, and I won't go into too much detail about them, but we do see Nina Rosario here, played by Leslie Grace, who is sort of the community's big winner. She got out, and she is making a name for herself at Stanford, but things aren't what they seem there either. Jimmy Smits plays her father and the owner of the taxi taxi cab company, of which Benny is the dispatcher. So that's sort of the basic premise. Now, I was told by a good buddy of mine, you may have seen her on my channel before, Melissa, who saw this on Broadway way back in the day. And she told me about some of the differences between the stage show and the movie. Now, as a film critic, I'm not really going to judge this based on what the stage play was versus what the film is. I can only judge it from what I saw, which was the film. But I have to admit, most of the things she told me, other than the fact that they stripped away a couple of some of her favorite tunes, but they had to do with things that are not in this film version. So, I can't base it on that, but I can say, from what she told me, I kind of liked this version of events better. The things that were taken out here made sense to me, and I think we got a much better film actually for it. Now, there were a couple things that I was like, well, that's sort of a loose end that they didn't deal with maybe, but I thought, well, the stage show is probably about an extra half hour. This is about 2:22, but most Broadway musicals are closer to 3 hours, so I figured, all right, that's fine. I'll let that stuff go. But the stuff she told me that they took out, I was like, well, that actually is it makes complete sense. I'm glad that they took out some of those things, although it stinks to lose some great songs. But the songs that were kept in are like 95% great. There's one or two that I'm like, I am not in love with this track, but most of the songs are fantastic. Now, I saw this Thursday night on the big screen with my friends. I wasn't even in town. I was on vacation across the country, and I said, I need to see this movie on the big screen. Let's go. We went, and it was amazing. And then when I came home 2 days later, my sister-in-law was like, hey, let's watch In the Heights. We've got HBO Max. So I watched it again, so 2 times in the course of about 48 hours, and no regrets. No regrets. This movie is fantastic. And I was pretty excited about it last summer when I saw like the first trailer. And I don't watch a lot of trailers, so I don't know what movie I was even in that I saw the trailer for this. But I was like, okay, this is even before I saw Hamilton, actually. But of course, I knew Lin-Manuel from several things, and I knew his reputation. But just the visuals in the 2.5 minute trailer are enough to make anybody, I think, leap out of their seat and be like, oh my God, I need to see this movie. The dancing, the choreography, the music, the great backdrop. This Washington Heights, it's such a great place. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, this is not necessarily an autobiographical story, but he still lives in Washington Heights today. This is something that is near and dear to his heart. So I'm so glad that they finally got it right. Originally, this was actually going to be a movie like 10 years ago, and I'm not sure if it was for Warner Brothers or not, but at the time, they wanted to make sure there was somebody really famous in the role, some very famous Latina person, maybe in one of the female roles, Nina or Vanessa, Shakira, J-Lo, let's do it. And Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of stuck to his guns and said, no, I think this would be better with a lesser-known cast, and I think he was right on that. But everything I said earlier about Crazy Rich Asians, too, that John M. Chu brought to the table to make that book come alive, he does it again here. The backdrop is amazing, but the set pieces and the lighting, and you just want to be a part of this movie. You want to be a part of this community. You want to know these people. You want Abuela to take care of you at the dinner table. The acting here is pretty great. I think this is going to be a star-making turn for Anthony Ramos for sure. If I'm nitpicking here, I think maybe some of the female actresses in this film aren't up to par with some of the guys. Now, I think, the gals that play Vanessa and Nina, I think, are great. But, some of the people from the beauty salon, maybe not quite as great. But again, this is picking nits here. A couple other things maybe I could say is that I'm not sure how I felt about the sort of wraparound storytelling of us Navi talking to these little kids, this little group of kids throughout the movie, and they go back to them a fair amount, which is okay. I didn't mind that as sort of a stepping stone, but then they sort of go off into different details, like naming some famous Latina women. It's great for a little knowledge, but I'm not positive that we needed to drop it in the middle of this movie. Just sort of things like that I'm not sure fit exactly with the movie, or some of the songs have sort of a more visual component to it, where they're doing. There's a song about winning the lottery, and the potential with that, and so people are sort of making gestures with their hands, and we see things, like sort of chalk drawings pop up. Like he goes like this, and there's a diamond ring in chalk that sort of appears. Look, I'm not sure that I was in love with some of those choices, but again, this is really nitpicking here. If I'm looking to find some flaws in this movie, because there aren't many. I've watched now the original title sequence, the first 8-minute song. I've watched that maybe 4 times at this point, in addition to the 2 times I sat through the movie in its entirety. I cried several times in this movie. I laughed a few times for sure. The music here is great. I think come Oscar time, this is going to be a hard one to beat. Now, I know West Side Story is coming out at Christmas as well. That's with Steven Spielberg directing. That's going to be another huge musical of the Oscars. I know that. But the Academy loves a well-done musical, and this is one. We haven't had one this good in quite a while. You could certainly say The Greatest Showman maybe had better music. I'm not sure. Personal opinion, maybe. But there were a lot of problems with the the narrative of that story, certainly. And then La La Land, I do love that movie, and maybe, I don't know, it's certainly more of a dramatic movie than this. I think they're having a lot of fun here, but there's a lot of dramatic pieces as well. But look, let's not compare and contrast. This is a great musical, regardless of what you're comparing it to. And I'm a musical fan. I don't deny that. Some of my favorite movies of all time are in that realm, certainly. Dreamgirls, The Wizard of Oz, Hairspray, they're all up there. And this one, I think, can probably stand toe-to-toe with them. I love all of the Latina experience, that Latinx experience that they're giving us here on display. And a lot of things can really be sort of set to any culture. It happens to be in Washington Heights, but you could say the same for a lot of different communities about this movie, because there's a couple of things, like Abuela at one point talks about the little details to remind everybody that we're here. And to me, as a gay man, that spoke, oh, we're here, we're queer, kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, that really speaks to me in that way. I don't have any Latin roots, but I just love that phrase, and I think the same could be said for the Black community as well. So I think this is not just a Latinx story; it is a universal story, I think, of feeling alive and being a part of a culture and a community that is bigger than you. And I think this movie does it so very well. So again, I've picked a couple of nits here, so I'm not going to quite give it that A+. But for me so far, it is the best movie of the year. I leave In the Heights with an A. I know we went a little bit longer than my standalones usually go these days. I try to keep them to about 10 or 12 minutes maximum, but I had so much to say about this movie that I do not apologize for making this so long. I could say much more, but again, we're going to stay spoiler-free, so I don't want to go into too many of the plot details, but this is a recommend for sure. And like I said, do try to see this on the biggest screen possible with a great sound system, because I do not regret that experience at all. And then watching it 2 days later on the TV, similar experience, but I'm glad I had that big theater experience first. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye.